Good afternoon, friends. Welcome. Wow, excuse me. Welcome to Kahuna Help. I am here for the next 2 hours to help you out with world building, storytelling, writing, voice stuff. I don't do dishes, however, or windows. So there is a limit to my help. Other than that, chime in. If you hop into the chat, be sure to let me know you're here. Even if you just want to lurk, let me know. Billiam, welcome! Welcome to the chat. And welcome to Kahuna Help. I have not caught one of your streams in a while. I need to catch it because you do some awesome work. You were hoping with help with the dishes. Sorry, man. No can do. No, it's not in my contract. I could help you with all kinds of other stuff, but yeah, domestic stuff's now. Ask my wife. Mrs. Kahuna Help will tell you I'm lousy at dishes, so you really don't want my help anyway. Music might be a tad loud. All right, let me fix that. How's that? Is that better? Hopefully that's a little bit better. I've been tweaking it, and I just switched over from Jingle Punks to Pretzel Rock, and unfortunately, Pretzel Rock is a whole new set of volume controls, so I'm having to reset everything, which is, that's kind of the way things have been with Twitch lately. I had a stream on Sunday that technology-wise just didn't work. Yeah, we were lagged in the chat by 5 to 7 minutes. That was entertaining. Looks like things are going much better today. I don't see any lagging frames. I don't see any dropped frames. Seems like you guys are hearing me okay, so on we go. So, a couple things that I've worked on in the last week. Probably the one that's taken the most time, but that I'm the most satisfied with, is I added to the Kahuna Quiet streams, I added writing sprint timers. It's an automatic timer. The beauty of it is I double click one icon on my desktop and it automatically starts the timer, randomly selects from right now 7 different voice sets. Each of those voice sets has a start voice, a 5-minute warning, a 1-minute warning, and an end voice. And each set is the same voice doing the 4 different sounds, or 4 different clips. And what I wanted was to make it less static, was for it to randomly pick those sounds every time. And I will add more sounds to it as I go, and improve the ones that I've got. But I spent the better part of last week coding, learning how to code in PowerShell, learning all the intricacies of that, and then spent the last night recording more voices. So there'll be more of those coming, but it's in the Kahuna Quiet stream. It's in preparation for Game of Tomes. Game of Tomes, I am not a house in Game of Tomes, not even a minor house. I will simply be a collector. So I will collect all of the word counts for people who do the word counts on my Kahuna Quiet stream. I will collect their word counts and I will report them back so that you can come and play Game of Tomes by simply doing writing sprints on my Kahuna Quiet feed. So I really wanted it to contribute in some way, but I just don't have the time to actually do all that writing. Although, kind of surprised I did 1,200 words today, so woo, that's good for me. But I didn't do it in sprints, I just wrote. Been spending a lot of time doing that. And then just figuring out what I'm going to do with different elements of streaming, and how I'm going to move my voice acting work forward and stuff like that. So it's been a fun week. Delian, what have you been up to besides streaming and mapping and all the stuff that you do? Let's see. I think we'll be doing writing and sprints on Monday and map making with sprints on Wednesday during November. Yeah, I'll be doing 5 days a week. And that's awesome because that fits into your schedule perfectly. I'll be doing, during the Kahuna Quiet 5 days a week. That's from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time. So whenever that works out for everybody else. And it's nonstop. It's a 20-minute cycle, 15 minutes of sprinting, 5-minute break. We start all over again. Like I said, I double click one icon and it just goes. I don't have to do anything, which was my goal because, at heart, I'm probably just lazy. Got a few articles done as well, in addition to the mapping and streaming. That's awesome. Man, I wish I could be that productive. My biggest problem right now is mapping, I have no problem. Doing graphics, I have no problem. Coding, I have no problem. Get me to start writing, and pretty soon I'm just falling asleep at the keyboard. Mrs. Kahuna has a picture of me falling asleep this way last week. Just sitting in my chair, lean back and snoring, which is really entertaining for her students. They can't see me, but they can hear me. So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, so I'm trying to do the writing. I'm trying to catch up on my writing. It's hard to get writing. It's been a lucky writing move for a few. That's awesome. Yeah, and I get that way. Today, I started off with the tired thing, and then some ideas hit me, especially on one of the characters, and I was just bang, bang, bang. I just started writing. It just flowed, and those are the days I like, because the ideas just come out and the words just seem to come out. But those aren't all that often, unfortunately. I'm trying to write my story as a serial novel kind of thing. Although it's more like the Saturday afternoon serials of the early days of the movies, when people would go in for a 10-minute movie that was, the cliffhanger every week. And I haven't gotten quite into the point of the story. I'm still kind of in a lot of exposition. At about, where am I at? I'm about 18,000 words in, something like that, 15,000. And what I'm trying to do is get done with that exposition so that I can start getting into the real meat of the story. I've introduced all the main characters at this point, except for the big bad evil guy. And we won't probably see him for quite some time, because we're going to hear about him a couple more chapters down the line. We're going to hear about things he's done, but we're not going to meet him right away. We will meet some of his minions. We will deal with some of the effects of things he's done, but we won't meet him. We have met our adventurers. We have met the hero and namesake of the book. We have met some of his cohorts, although we don't know a ton about any of them because they're intentionally mysterious. The hero is one of these guys who, when they say, I heard you did this. Is that true? He just laughs and says, oh, that's what they say. And doesn't answer the question. His stock in trade is allowing the stories to be there. And it's, this is going to be one of those where I go back and rewrite chapters a lot. Because as I write, I go back and look at the first chapter and go, oh, that was weak sauce. My biggest problem is I'm getting better at dialogue, but I'm not giving enough environment. I'm not doing a great job of describing everything around them. I don't want to go overly in detail. I'm not an excessively florid writer where I don't put a whole bunch of stuff out there just for people to read and spend. I don't spend 5 100 words on the scent of a flower. I want to move the story along. And because this is an adventure, I want the story to move along at a good pace. We've had one battle so far in the first 3 chapters. Our adventurers were just given a choice in what I wrote today. They've been given a choice. Join up with the hero. Of course, they don't know he's a hero. In fact, his legend is that he interacts with nobles and criminals alike. So nobody really knows where he stands on stuff. And they've met him, and he's made them an offer, and it's not a bad offer. Do they take it? Do they go their own way? Do they trust him? And does he trust them? And that's where we're at now, and they have to make a decision whether they're going to work with him or not. So we will see that in probably the next, well, when I start writing again in the morning, we will be at that point. Trying to overhaul my main world, change some of the world base, make new maps, new CSS theme, pretty massive project. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I wanted to do when we started the Synergazia project was I wanted to see what happens if you give people pieces of the same world but let them run with it. Now, we did not tie them to one storyline, so that's not exactly what I want to do. But it's a fun project and it's a fun experiment. The CSS stuff is really kind of tricky right now because it's bloating our CSS massively. You know, everybody wants 3 or 4 fonts. Fonts bloated up pretty quickly. Everybody wants to have their own themes. Also blows it up pretty quickly. It'll be the third iteration of that world. It's probably getting better things. The old stuff. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I am with it. I have blown up the CSS on my world. I'm on version 5. I'm kind of happy with it right now. I really kind of like the way it looks. And then I'll go to somebody else's site and go, oh, I know what I could do with that. So, I've been trying to be better about not doing that because I think it's just it can become a rabbit hole to where I'm never moving stories forward. I'm just making the way things look a little different. Or I go back and read and go, start again. But then if people have been reading along, I want them to be able to, you know, have a storyline. I've been averaging about 2 weeks between chapters. I wish I was better and could do 1 a week. So, and I'm making my chapters about 5,000 words. So, it's possible for me to do 1 a week. I mean, that's about 1,200 words a day. It's possible, but there are some days it just doesn't flow. It just doesn't work. Or I get requests from someone to do something or to show them something. And that's the main reason I do this, is to help people. And so those things take me off of the writing. And to be honest, there are some days where I'm glad it takes me off the writing because it gets difficult some days. So I totally understand, Dillian. Yeah, we get better and then we mess it up. Yeah, the fun thing I've had lately is actually helping other people create sub-themes. That's what we're doing on Synergazia. And frankly, that's what I've done on my site. I have a number of sub-themes. So depending on the page you go to, backgrounds are different. The cover image changes. You know, there's sub-themes within that world. So, and I like that because I don't feel like I'm going to the same page constantly. And I can always whip up a new image that better represents it. For example, I have an area that's the Muioka Desert. And so the backgrounds on that are obviously a desert landscape, but near the capital city of one of the countries. It's in a mountainous region, surrounded by forest. And so what do you get? A forest canyon. And I did it making it very simple to make those changes. That was my real key, is I wanted to be one word on a page, basically the class and the additional CSS classes. Change that one class and have everything else change around it. And that's what I think I've achieved. So using that same technique, I brought that over to Synergazia. So now the authors on Synergazia can create their own subclass and put everything else underneath it so that their world looks, or their part of the world looks exactly the way they want it to, without messing up the base world or anybody else's. And that was the real key. There are some things, hopefully, there is an Inner Sanctum meeting this Saturday. There's something that Demetrius had mentioned before that he was looking at doing, and I'm hoping that we can move that forward, because it would actually make page load times for things like Synergazia much quicker. It would also make having multiple CSS looks and multiple CSS styles in one world much easier. So I'm going to ask about it again. He actually mentioned it before, and now I'm going to ask about it, see if we can move it forward. But yeah, it's, you know, it's CSS is, you know, everybody, and you know it because you've done it, CSS is a rabbit hole. And, you know, you got to pull yourself out of the rabbit hole every once in a while and just let things flow. So I'm curious to see what you do with yours. See if you've done any fancy stuff. I have seen some fancy stuff on some of the other pages that I really like. The only hitch I have with some of them is it really slows the page down. And I'm one of those impatient people. If I get to a page that does not move right along, I'm out. I just can't. I have no patience to wait for it to load. So, you know, that's an issue for me. That's something I need to deal with, obviously. Let's see here. I was just about to go through through my notifications here, start clearing them out, and start looking at some pages. So let's see what we got here. These are not necessarily critiques of pages. To be honest, I'm looking for stuff I can steal. They'll tell you, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Maybe. It's also the quickest way to learn how to do new things. Go into this here so you can see what it is I see. This one is the Sea Glow Coalition. And again, I'm not looking for content as much here. I'm looking for stuff I can steal. Okay, I really like, right off the bat, right off the bat, what I really like is the texture in this image. I'm always trying for this, and it looks very bump mappish. And I haven't learned how to do bump maps properly in Affinity. That's something I really need to work on, because I like creating banners and flags. He gave you sausage, and I don't even want to know. Do I? Berlin sausage. All right. Yeah, that image is. I need to learn how to do it in Affinity. I knew how to do it fairly well in GIMP, how to apply a texture to a flat image. But this looks marvelous, because it really, there's a couple things about it. One, the texture is really easy to see, and it really does look like a woven texture. But another thing that I'm looking at is that this must have been a fairly large texture image that was used for the bump map. He brought his French sausage to Berlin, and I brought my local bread. There was an exchange. All right. How do I get in on this? Oh, yeah, I have to fly to Europe. I can only dream of such delicacies. Or go to my local Italian place because they have really good sausage, which I did over the weekend. Yeah, the other thing is, this had to have been a really big texture sample, because I'm looking for areas where it might have repeated, and I don't see any that are obvious repeats. So this was either edited very well, or it was just a really big texture sample, because it looks awesome. By the way, what kind of sausage was it? Let's see. Everything else looks relatively same. Again, same texture on these other banners. I do like the layout because it makes the large column, small column layout work pretty well. I've been playing a lot more with trying different layouts. You know what? Saucisson. Saucisson. Hey, saucisson. Oui. Really bad French accent. In fact, let's see if I can pull up one of the things that I've been working on. Yeah, let's do it this way. No idea how to say it, but it was delicious. Color me jealous. It's good sausage is hard to beat. Let me switch over. Oh, I am on my world. When I switched to Synergazia because it's on there. I actually created. So I've created two things. I created a sub class that I call newspaper. And then I also am working on an actual theme. If I can, what I want to do really is create an actual template for a newspaper article, but I don't know how well that's going to go. So instead, what I've been doing is using blocks and setting up blocks as a 2-column block, a 1-column block, a 3-column block, with or without images, so that you can simply drop the blocks into your article, into rows in your article, and get the same look. So you get a look something like, let me see if I can find it. Man, these guys have been busy. It's amazing how much people are writing in Synergazia. It's absolutely phenomenal. Holy moly. I'm looking for my article. Let's do this. Let's search for it this way. There it is. All right, so this is how I put it together. This is actually a sub class. So it sits on top of our Synergazia background and shares everything else with Synergazia until you actually get to this page, and then this is specifically created paper look. One thing I have to deal with, figure out how to get around, is up there. You'll see it says Synergazia Sentinel V1-2. That is the article title. I I don't want it to say that. I just wanted to say Synergazia Sentinel, but you can't just have the same name over and over. At a minimum, it messes things up. Actually, yes, I have seen Davina's newspaper stuff. It's way better than mine. But it is what inspired this, is seeing that. Hers is way better. But she's got an eye for stuff that I wish I had. So I just did this kind of this way. So we've got the headline, we've got an image, a little ad, and so on. But I was really messing with 3 column wide, and then 2 column, and 1 column, and then so I really wanted to mess with the layout. And then, well, like I said, what I did was I created a series of blocks that are designed to be dropped in, where you could create the stories, drop the blocks in, rearrange the blocks if you need to, and get the layout that you want. So I haven't looked into how to create an article template yet from scratch. It's probably a little beyond what I do. So that is something I would like to learn at some point, but at least I've got this now and I can use it. And the nice thing is I can take all that code and drop it into my own site, and it'll work the same way as long as I use the newspaper subclass. It'll work exactly the same way, because all the tags, they're not Synergazia based, they are just straight CSS. And I actually read this article on Kahuna Reads on Sunday, and I had fun with it, and there's a whole lot of typos in it that I got to fix. So, you know, that's the way it goes. Yeah, I really like Davina's. Let me see if I can get over to Davina's here. Oops. Hers is even cleaner. Yeah, it's just, it's so clean. It's almost a more magazine format, but it's so clean. A great job with the borders. I love this weather strip, with the way that the red shadow is into the numbers to make it, well, I would guess a little easier to read. Awesome, and now it's not scrolling for me. Cool. Oh, wait. There we go. Something was loading. That's what it was. But yeah, this is just, it's wonderful looking stuff. Absolutely, absolutely marvelous. I think with Synergazia, what I wanted to do is have almost like a daily reporting thing, or a weekly reporting thing, and just for fun. But yeah, this is, and I also like the drop down over here on the left, how that icon has replaced the box and everything. It's just, Davina does some CSS stuff that's just brilliant. So yeah, I'm jealous. It just does not want to. For some reason, it's not liking Androwin today. So yeah, I like this layout. And so I need to give it a like. Let's see what else I've got in my notifications. So, Delian, are you going to be in Game of Tomes? Are you going to be participating in that in any way, or? Like I said, I'm going to be doing just counts. So that's the way I'm going to be dealing with it. Oh, excuse me. So let's look at the Game of Tomes article since it's been updated. Got your own minor house. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, it's a bad habit of mine. I like to put too much on my plate and then try to take it all in one bite. So that's where I'm at the moment. I spent a week and a half building a Murphy bed here in the Kahuna lair for guests, and now I'm working on the backyard, which I had started before the summer started, and then it just got too flippin' hot outside. So once it got too flippin' hot, I had to stop. So now I'm getting back to it since our temperatures are finally coming back down. But then I look at the backyard and go, well, you know, I could do this. And, oh, you know what? What I really need is a new shed on top of it. And my wife's looking at me like, could you finish one piece of it first? Just one? So that's where I am. Time Pool did the design on this, and it's clean. It's very clean. I don't know if the font is my favorite, but I love the way everything else lays out. It's very easy to find the different subheads, the different boxes. Information jumps out at you when it should. I like that videos are included. So I really like this one. And I did create a banner for myself that just says Kahuna the Collector. So I want to make sure people know that I'm not a house. I'm just collecting the points for you. So yeah, I've read this since it was updated, so I should go back there. So let's go back. Alright, so I can delete those. Alright, let's look at Lorraine's. Let's see. Yes, this is one thing I really like about Lorraine's design is that border image. It's just clean. It does repeat, as we would expect, but it's really clean and sharp, so you really kind of see the filigree in it. So I really like that. Also like the border around, for example, the comments box. Man, that is a big web. Looks like a Ferris wheel. But yeah, works great. Oops, wrong way. Come back. There we go. And the fonts. Another one, and this is just old man talking, is these lighter fonts down here. And part of it's probably just my screen, but I find them harder to read because they are closer to that background color. And it is something that I watch for, mainly again because I'm old. I can't read them. Also this bluish color, I have the same problem with it. It's not as bad when the font is got a little bit more weight to it, like up here. In those, it looks great. Yeah, on the bigger fonts, it's not bad. Or I should say the weightier fonts. These are very thin fonts. Not a ton of weight to them, and so they become difficult to read. I occasionally will get some of those during Kahuna Reads, and it makes it a challenge to read ahead so I know what's coming. while I'm reading, because I just can't see it that well and pick it out really quick. But again, could be just me being an old dude. I do like the contrast between the more modern looking fonts and then into these quotes, a more calligraphic looking font. Let's see, what layers do we have on this map? Okay, so all the layers are activated by nature. Not a ton of ruins. Not a ton of buildings. There's the political lines. Alright, I like that one. Yeah, see here in this sidebar, that's where those lighter fonts, those thinner fonts are harder to read. Well, hey, Jerry, welcome. How are you? Just kind of going over some of the articles I've gotten notifications on, just so I can see if there's anything I can steal from them. and you know, give people likes. And just mentioning the stuff that I see. These are not, I wouldn't say they're flat out critiques, but they are my preferences on some things. Give this a like real quick. Prepping for D&D, awesome. Is this a regular game? Is this a regular campaign you guys do, or is it, you know, is it a lot of friends? What kind of a game is it? I was playing D&D again for the first time back in December into about February. We had found a game store, a local game store that was hosting one-shot nights once every 2 weeks, and my kid and I had gone and started playing, and then pandemic hit and they had to stop doing that part. End of tier 3 rescue the world sort of thing. Oh, all right then, serious stuff with serious BBEGs. Excellent. Do you have plans after that? Is the campaign going to continue, or going to start a new campaign? Last game of D&D on Monday was cut short since a Vietnamese place, given our illustrious DM. I remember. I think I remember hearing something about that. Heading into a hag factory. Ooh. Okay. There will be some hacking and slaying then. I approve. I Well, I'm hoping Q is feeling a bit better. Let's see. Shy always has some great stuff on her site. Ah, okay. Hag Laboratory, Hag Factory, yeah, whatever. Hag Factory was cool. So, if you are ever looking for just some quick tips, you know, and of course I don't have it bookmarked, and I should. Shy Red Fox's Hacks and Help site is awesome. She's got all kinds of little tips in there. Said he was feeling better before he went to bed today. Good. Good, because food poisoning sucks. We actually had a small bout of it go through. Not terrible, but we ate Subway sandwiches about a week and a half ago. And everybody who ate them started feeling lousy by the next morning. Actually, that night and then into the next morning. But none of us had the same sandwich. And then we found that there was only one thing we all had in common, and it was the bread. But I gotta tell you, whatever it was, No bueno, senor. No bueno. Well, hopefully Q is feeling better by tonight's game. Yeah, some of these are older, but yeah, it's... She's got some great stuff in here. What was the website? It is... Let me drop a link in. She's actually really kind of good at CSS, and it's a good place to get some tips. She also writes some of the codex, the World Anvil Codex, and she also writes on the blog, on the World Anvil blog. So just look for Shy Red Fox around World Anvil, and you'll always find some good tips. She does do a couple streams a week. I would say, let's see if I can find when her next stream is. Let's see. Where are you, Shy? Shy actually will be on at noon Pacific tomorrow. So you can catch her. I'm not sure what she is streaming about tomorrow. She's doing writing sprints tomorrow. So we got that going. But yeah, Shy has always got, she's helpful and she knows her stuff. So, you know, and she's willing to play with stuff. I can help with a lot of stuff, but I'm nowhere near an expert. I've gotten way better. I think Delian will probably agree that the easiest way to get better at CSS is to completely screw it up. It's, you know, it's the way it works. You completely screw it up and then learn how to fix it, which is probably the most frustrating thing, because there's so many little things you can do wrong that absolutely will tank your CSS, and then you come along and work. I'll be streaming then, but I'll keep an eye out. Okay, yeah. I'm pretty sure she archives stuff. So if you go to her Twitch channel, it's, you know, she just Shy Red Fox is her Twitch channel. I think their stuff's archived there, so you can always look at it. And just take a look. Like tomorrow's going to be writing streams. What did she do today? Today was writing. Let's see. Looks like Friday is probably your next best bet with her for things that are more tech related. 3 years of web development education, so I did most of my screwing up back to And here's the thing. How much of those 3 years of web development education are still applicable now? That's the thing that drives me nuts, is that as soon as you get things lined up, they're going and changing everything on you. It moves really fast. That's the toughest thing I have. Is, look, I was programming back in not Visual Basic, just Basic. My first programming language was actually Basic, Fortran, and COBOL. So I was learning that stuff on mainframes. Never got really good at Basic, or at COBOL or Fortran, but I was decent with Basic. So I have plenty of coding experience, but what we do now is nowhere near that stuff. I'm still learning. Basic HTML still works, but so much is on top of it. Yeah. Yeah, the CSS and Bootstrap is still ahead. You're right. But Bootstrap keeps updating. So, and you know, I think there are two different versions of Bootstrap being used on World Anvil, which is something I had to learn, is that it isn't just one, there's two, and how they mesh, and but I'm learning, slowly but surely. I need to take better notes, or just screw things up more often. Mainly what I use it for nowadays. Yeah, I get that. And it's funny because, like, when I did the timers for my sprint streams, or my writing sprints, I started with doing batch files at the Windows command prompt. Go, Jerry, do what you got to do. I started using batch files and was this close, and I couldn't quite make it work. I was like this close on the batch files, and then did a little research and found PowerShell was going to give me more control. Still not enough control for what I want to do, but it was actually simpler once I understood it. So it took me about 4 hours of just cramming it and messing up code and fixing the code and putting breakpoints in and figuring out what was going on with the code until I got it working. And so now I'm fairly confident in how I'm doing it, but in no way am I PowerShell fluent, but I get some of it. But I might invest in a book. Then again, I might invest in something else. Everybody's trying to steer me towards Python. Maybe I will do Python, but then that involves me installing something else, and it's only on my computer. And yeah, I don't know. Python is a thought, but at this point, it's only a thought because I've been able to achieve what I want to achieve with good old PowerShell. So there's that. Yeah. So Shai's got a good site and good insights. Let's see what we got here. What else we got? Danny, tutorial quest. And we get a 404. Wah, 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 wah. That's not going to work. Now we have SolarCat 2. Learn C and PHP. Yeah, no, I've noticed, Elian, and actually you do a great job. You do a great job. I have been playing with making maps. I created the maps for Synergazia. There is no way I would call myself a cartographer. I tend to like maps that are more realistic in style. Mainly because I suck at making the non-realistic ones, but I'm pretty good with brushes in photo editing software. So I can add color and texture and stuff like that pretty easily, but when it comes to starting zooming in, I'm not a happy camper, but I'm getting better. It's getting there slowly. If it's funny because I can draw stuff that's way down into the grids, like a building, you know, or the floor of a building or a mine. Once we get into that middle level, the village level, village to town level, and that's when I'm just not as good, and I need to work on it. But I have seen your stuff, and your stuff's great. You have a patience that I cannot claim. So, yeah, you. The one thing I tried to do with Synergazia was, let's see here. Let's look at the main map of Synergazia. The one thing I tried to do with it was, because we didn't know what the author for each region was going to want, I tried to create a map that was flexible, so it had a very base landmass to it. So if you see down in the bottom regions of this map, there's not a whole lot of color applied, and that's because nobody's in those regions. What I did then was, as we assigned regions, I then went back in and added, well, what I did first was I clipped out a region. So, for example, this whole area here from this northern section down to here is one region. So what I did was I clipped that out as a separate region and then went in and on the individual map added my detail and then basically copied that map back in here and laid it back on top of this to add some more texture to this map. Already I'm looking at it going, yeah, no, I need more work. Because I think it needs more definition. I think it's a little bland. This one's had the most work done on it. Up in here in region 9. That's Francalia. I'm sorry, region 10. It's Francalia. And they asked for a mountain ridge to be put up here and for these rivers to be put in. So I went ahead and did that. And again, took that, laid it back on top of the original one, and added that piece back in. But I really wanted to be able to work on individual areas piece by piece, because otherwise this map is massive. It's huge. You know, it's supposed to be about, this is approximately 24,000 miles across. It's a big map. And so I needed to be able to, you know, get closer and closer as we went. And of course there is a limit on how big the map can be in World Amble. So certainly not to your level, Delian, not anywhere close, but you know, I have fun doing it. Uh-oh. I think we're taking on raiders. Welcome, 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 privateers. Welcome. Yes, people. Oh, no. Come on aboard, folks. Welcome aboard the Kahuna Help. I'm your captain, tour guide, and dance instructor. Just don't let me catch you on the poop deck. Whole bunch of folks coming in. Welcome. So we're just talking, telling Delian what an awesome job he does on his maps. I am nowhere near that. And we were talking a little bit about old style coding and how we have to adapt for the changing standards online and what's the best stuff to learn to be successful with that. So welcome. The poop deck is the poop deck. You don't go poop on the poop deck. That is not where you poop. You poop in the head. What kind of dances am I instructing them? Don't ask. I don't ask. I have a rule. Me and volcanoes have something in common, and that is when either one of us move, the villagers run. So keep that in mind. Mosh pit. Yes! It's not really dancing, is it? That's kind of like, you know, professional wrestling to music. So, and DM Stretch, welcome. Oh, let's see. Who else is here? Everybody's here. Awesome. So, anyway. Yeah, so I think every person who creates a map creates it in a style that they can do, and tries to approximate a style that they like. I'm just never satisfied with my map making skills. So I'm always going back and redoing it. Kind of like what we talked about earlier with CSS. I'm always going back and redoing it. I'm looking at other people's sites and going, oh, that's really cool, and changing it. So that's where I am with this stuff. I believe this logo was created by Time Pool as well. Very nice logo. I really, really like that. I really like that. Poop in the head, I've been accused. Your timing, sir, is impeccable. So let me got all choked up about that. Let me go back here. And we can look at some other maps I've done. Or stuff you guys are doing. Let's see here. Where'd my maps go? Oh, yeah, world. So I've done a couple of different styles of maps for my world, and some of them, No, I don't want Synergazia. This is one problem with having the multiple worlds. If you open an article in a different world, it looks like it changes everything over to that world. I haven't figured out how to get past that. Have to go cook dinner now. Back in a bit. All right. I'll be here for about another hour. Enjoy dinner. What's for dinner, by the way? I always want to know what DM Stretch is making for dinner because it always sounds so good. All right, so, for example, this is a village. My story has not reached this village yet. The storyline's been written there, but it hasn't reached there. I did this one, I believe I did this one in Incarnate. Yeah, I think this was Incarnate. And I stopped using Incarnate because I really couldn't get results I wanted. There's nothing bad about it. It's just I know what I was trying to do, and I couldn't get there. Diced chorizo fried off with some frozen peas mixed with red chili pesto and full sleep. Oh, I am jealous. I am jealous. That sounds wonderful. My wife couldn't eat it. Mrs. Kahuna would burst into flames if she tried. But then again, she's sensitive to black pepper. So, you know, anything with red chilies and chorizo, not a good one for her. But, oh, that sounded good. But yeah, that's, this is where my storyline is going. And like I said, I tried Incarnate, but it couldn't do what I wanted to do with it. So I ended up not using that. And I may end up redoing this because, again, I tend to like a little bit more realistic. But this is that level that I get to, that zoom level that I get to, where I'm not comfortable in my abilities to reproduce or to create a good map. So, but this is a blighted town, hence all the dead trees surrounding it. And of course, you know, you can see that I was short on iconography because I have the same building 3 times, once in a slightly smaller size, another building twice, and then another building twice with a third building tacked onto it. Wasn't terribly original. It wasn't terribly creative. So I will probably end up redoing this one. And of course, my representation of a mine, another one that I wasn't terribly happy with. But like I said, I think this was Incarnate. I don't think this was Wonder Draft. Nowadays, when I make a map, I tend to make the map, the terrain, the landmass in Wonder Draft. And then, and in Wonder Draft, I will draw out where I think mountain lines, etc. should be. And then I'll export the whole thing and take it into Affinity and start putting on the layers and coloring and everything like that. So my process is a little different than when I created this. And I have another village. Let's find another village. Where are you? Tremor. And welcome all. If you're lurking, feel free to lurk. Lurking is totally, totally cool. All right, so this is probably the third or fourth incarnation of this. I did try, oh gosh, now let me look and see if I can find the name of this software. Cityographer. I did try using Cityographer for this, and I do use Cityographer for villages to visualize it, so I can lay it out. But I don't use it to actually do the drawing because I don't find it it's not as successful for me. So this one I did do in WonderDraft. This is a city that my storyline has just now encountered. They've just arrived. There's a farm, there's a blacksmith, there's a relics dealer, a bakery, a tailor, an open market, a tavern, and an inn. C plus hard, CC3. Yeah. I don't know it at all. At all. But this one, like I said, the original layout for this was in Cityographer. And then I brought that in as a trace layer in WonderDraft and redrew it in WonderDraft because Cityographer is very blocky. It's very chunky. It is not a great look. Then I started playing with VTT Foundry. And yeah, no, this is not Cityographer, actually. This is actually WonderDraft. It looks a lot like Cityographer because it was based on a layer from Cityographer, but I basically just drew over the layer. But this is actually stuff that I brought in from this is actually WonderDraft overlaid on top of it. So that's why it has the same kind of format, especially the roads. But the stuff I dropped in is actually Worldographer. And I don't need to talk to you. And then, like I said, I started playing with Foundry and thought, man, I really like those lighting effects. But what I couldn't find any way to do in Foundry was to export the maps or import maps. Off you go, DM. Go cook. Have some chorizo for me. Love chorizo. Chorizo and pasta. And actually, I'm not as big a fan of pasta, but hey. Sorry, going about Foundry. Oh, that's fine. So I couldn't find a way to make the images I was creating in one piece of software work in the next one. And I really liked the lighting effects, and yet I couldn't get them right. I couldn't get them exported out of Foundry so that I could use them somewhere else. So instead, I played around, dropped this into Affinity, and created the night version. And you can zoom in and see, you know, the little fountain around the lantern. And the light outside of this house. And of course, the light around the fire at the blacksmith's, the barn, at the farm, the bakery's front lights. So, and it was fairly easy to do this. This was just basically adding a color layer on and then punching holes in that color layer to show the daylight through. So it's not that I added light to it, it's that I took away dark. Same idea. But basically I'm just punching a hole in that blue layer, so I get a nighttime effect. And that it's just a matter of adding that layer onto the map. So you get the day-night effect. I wish there was a way to add a transition effect so that when you clicked on night, it would take 3 or 4 seconds to go and come back. But again, that's wish. I don't know that that's anything that's ever going to happen. But I'm happy with the way it looks otherwise. So that's what happens when you take Cityographer, use that as a base for Wonderdraft, take some of the looks from Foundry, and fix them in Affinity. So that's the town of Tremor. I'll see what else I got here. Oh, there it is. I was looking for the name of the city and I didn't realize I put port in front of it. So this is one that I did pretty much entirely in Wonderdraft. And again, not super happy with it. And actually on this one, the image was edited in GIMP, not Affinity. And what I did here was lay out the city itself in Wonderdraft, including all the buildings. And again, you know, the issue you run into is that the buildings start to all look the same, so you just kind of group them up in ways that make them look a little different. And I have all different styles. Hello, doggo. All different styles. I rotated them. I have the walls. There's a wall around the city. But again, it looks haphazard. And again, this is the level of zoom that I have the most problems drawing in. So it's an area I need to learn it. But what I did do on this was I did use the line function, or I should say the polygon function on the maps, so that I could create separate areas of the city and have them each link to an article so you could describe parts of the city. But you can pretty much tell the background. That's a Wonderdraft background. So, different styles, depending on when I did it, what I did it with. I am nowhere near the skill of Delian. I'm trying. I like Kaora stuff too. Kaora's got some beautiful stuff. I just don't have the drawing skill. So I have to rely on brushes and other techniques because I'm just not that good at the drawing. And the other thing is, I'm old and it hurts. Holding the pencil hurts. Holding the tablet pen hurts. And I suck with a mouse. So that's my mapping adventures. How about you guys? What are you guys using for maps? Obviously, Delian is drawing their own, but what do you guys use for maps? I'm curious. I'm always looking to try new things. I will show you one that was done in, I believe I did this in Dungeonographer. Although it might, I think it was Dungeonographer. And that's a soon-to-be used mind map. just basically laying a texture in on top of where the stone's supposed to be, having a different texture for the ground. There's a chasm there. I relied on brushes as well a few years ago. Well, good to hear. I'm, only years behind you now. Yeah, I look for what I can learn and what my skill set is, and then I try different things and try to improve it. I've gotten much better, I think, at coloring than I used to be. Recognizing what texture will work here, using some tricks that I've just either I've saw them and forgot where, or I just played with stuff and learned it. Like one of the ones I like to do for texture is to take if I've got a piece of cloth and I want to show a cloth-ish texture, I sample the color. I take it about a shade and a half, 2 shades darker, and draw some thin scratches on it all around. Take it a shade or 2 lighter and do it in the perpendicular direction, and then blur it, and you get kind of a motion to it that looks like it. Stealing maps mostly, Photoshop. Got CC3 with Dungeonographer and Cityographer, but they are awkward to learn. They're not what I would call user-friendly at all. I have that whole pack, Worldographer, Dungeonographer, and Cityographer. And I'm a geek, so it didn't take me long to figure it out. But they're also really chunky. So I use them more for creating a structure than I do a final product. So I'll start with those. And cognitive has been the thing I judge myself most harshly on. Yeah, I think Cityographer is CC3. I have the whole package as well. Yeah, I just, they're chunky. So I will use those as a base and then take them into Wonder Draft or straight into Affinity, and then build from there. That's how I do it now. Will this change in 6 months? There's a good chance. I'm looking forward to the Deos project that World Anvil is working on, because it's supposed to integrate really nicely with World Anvil. But I need to see just how flexible it is in creating a map. So I'm hoping it's nice. I really, really liked the look of maps in Foundry, but with the inability to export them, they don't do me any good. I don't want to take a screenshot to take a map out. I want to have the ability to zoom in and zoom out, so it's a little tough. And I get why a lot of this software isn't interoperative with other pieces of software. Look, you got to keep some things proprietary to keep people on your platform. I get it. But the more you do that, the more you force me into one platform or another, one product or another, one tool or another. They have to be there somewhere digging into the folders. You'd think, but it's entirely possible that they're using something proprietary to code it, because it is interactive. I would buy, they want too much for commercial license. I always look for the deals. I really do. When all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're 50% off. Okay, I'll buy it. I wouldn't have bought Affinity if it wasn't that they had some ridiculous deal where I want to say it was either $49 or $99 for all three of their packages, for their publishing package, their drawing package, and their photo editing packages. It was some ridiculous deal, and it worked. Oh, you mean for Project Eos? Yeah. Can't remember what they're getting for it, but you know, it's not a real thing yet. You know, I'd have to see what it offers before I can say whether it's worth it or not. You know, if I can do everything that it does, with the exception of World Anvil integration, if I can do everything it does with the tools I have, it makes no sense to spend the money. If, however, there are some elements of it that's like, oh, that's something I wish I could do. For example, create the maps that can change from day to night. Yeah, $350 is expensive. $350 is way expensive. That's probably not something I can afford. We'll see. You know, I think at that price, you may not see a whole lot of people jump on it. But again, we don't know where they're at. There's not a product yet. I used to write for technology magazines. And there were the days where we used to go to the Consumer Electronics Show every year. You know, more than 1 million square feet of electronics. And every year there were all the big companies talking about this new software that was coming out that was going to have all these features. And the joke was, yeah, vaporware. Yeah, they talked about it, and I want to say it was Panasonic or Sony or someone, and they had one item that they promoted every Consumer Electronics Show for about 5 years straight as being available within the next 6 months. Years straight, it didn't get released. 5 years straight. It was vaporware. And so I've become very cynical into how software gets released. When it's released, then I'll make a judgment on it. It's neither good nor bad until we see how it works. It doesn't have a value to a user until we see how it works. Until we can see this is what the software is designed to do and this is how well it does it, we don't have, there's nothing to value. There's nothing to set a price on. Yeah, call them Molyneux, yeah. Same idea. It's vaporware. It's just, when we see it, we see it. So I pass neither positive nor negative judgment on it or on the proposed price. Prices change very quickly if it doesn't sell. Like Realm works. Again, it's all of these things that they sound great. Everybody wants it. A lot of times I will tell you that the mentality with a lot of the bigger companies was they would create this stuff and create the buzz about it and see, is this buzz big enough for us to make any money continuing this process? And every year, if the one product that took like 5 years before they actually had even anything, a beta that they could send out, was they kept trying to judge what the interest was. And the interest level kept hitting this mid spot. Wasn't high enough for them to say, pull the trigger. But it wasn't low enough to kill it. It's like, man, there's enough people that like it, but just not enough to pull the trigger on it yet. Shelve it till next year. And they would keep repeating. I think they ended up shelving it not because they found it was a lack of interest, but because at that point technology had surpassed the idea and it was silly to keep working on something that could be done cheaper, faster, and more powerfully. because that's the technology industry. So I'm hoping Deos does things that I want. I'm hoping it will play well with others. I have a solution that works right now. And that's what I'm hoping for. Is there something that makes my solution better, that ties everything together better? That's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see what happens when it comes out. So it looks like so far that the answers here as to what people are using, looks like it's some of the Cityographer or the CC3 Pro packages. Looks like some drawing their own. Haven't seen a ton on WonderDraft. Haven't seen a ton of people say WonderDraft yet, so that's interesting to me. That WonderDraft is not a big, it's not a big proposal. A lot of people aren't just jumping on WonderDraft. And I kind of wonder why that is, because I actually like it for a lot of its features. I like its drawing, its land mapping or land mass creation features. I like the way you can use it to refine shorelines dynamically. I think it does a great job of that. I like the fact that you can create a bump map out of it. You can raise and lower ground and create a bump map that you can then apply to another image or to the other image. I like the fact that it actually can output layers. So it will output, for example, a water layer, the landmass layer. It'll output a layer with the symbols. It'll output a layer with, that's the bump map for the height. So I really like that because it makes it easy for me to transfer all of that information to something else, and all of the layers are exactly the same size. So you could take it right into another package and make your adjustments to it. So I really do like that. I think it does a decent job of creating realistic rivers and bodies of water. So I like it. Hef has been using WonderDraft for some of the stuff. Yeah, like I said, I like WonderDraft for the base stuff. When I go to add the details, what I find, and again, this is probably an artifact of me trying to use it on a laptop that's woefully underpowered for doing this stuff. But if I add a lot of the assets in for drawing, so I have a selection, it just slows to a crawl. Absolutely unbearably slow. So that's why I tend to move it into a drawing package where I can do things a little quicker. Dungeon Designer and City Designer. Have Worldographer 2. Made a bunch of hex maps. You have a cool random generator for locations. Yeah, exactly. So on my world, what I did was I created... So let me go to that map, actually. Because you'll actually... I think you can actually kind of see it if you know Worldographer. So I created the original map, was created in Worldographer. So the base layout of this was created in Worldographer. I dropped that into WonderDraft, had it create land masses, and then modified those land masses to fit what I had in Worldographer. And then have since gone in and used photo editing software to add features to the land masses, like the snowy mountains and all of that stuff. So that's how I've been doing it. Yeah, I think the best thing for Worldographer is if you're using it as almost an index. So you create a very base map, but it tells you where things are, because it does a decent job of keeping like things next to like things without making huge, massive, radical changes. And I'll be honest, I've been looking at this map for close to 9 months now. I don't want to redo it. The only area that really has to stay is the area I should show you the map. The only area that has to stay is the area that is lined out in red here, because that's where my current storyline occurs, and actually this area here, because that's part of the storylines. So I have a small area of this massive map that needs to stay the same. After that, I can change whatever I want. Remember, to change scenes is a pain. Yeah, I've done it more than once where I've talked about something on screen and realized it's not on screen. That's what it is. And this is why I don't make massive bucks on YouTube. Yet. Someday. I hope. So, yeah, so what you're looking at here is the, you know, the area that's blue. That area has to stay the same, but none of the rest of it does. And I look at some of it and go, is it really what I like? Maybe. Maybe I can do better. You know, another option is to create kind of what I've done with Synergazia, which is to create a base map that has that area carved out of it, but not put any other features in other than what's immediately around that area. And then as I add story, create the new area, but then I have all the land masses I can work with. That's another possibility. It allows me to flex it, and allows me a little bit more of the agile world building technique than I have right now. So I go back and forth on these ideas. I know that if I start playing with a map, 2 weeks later I'll be playing with that map, and it's a matter of prioritizing where I am. I think right now my story has to be prioritized. So it looks like we have, you know, Hefe using Wonder Drop, but everybody else is using, it looks like it's a mix, and it looks like it's whatever seems to work for you. Now, is anybody still using Incarnate? I really liked Incarnate to start. It just got, one, because it's web-based, it was a little buggy for me. And two, the selection of assets was a little on the weak side for me. I wanted more flexibility. I wanted to be able to draw stuff. I wanted to be able to add stuff to it. Never liked the art style of Incarnate. Yeah, it's not bad. It's just there's only so many selections, and I kind of use it. Okay. So a few folks use Incarnate. Cool. Yeah, it's, look, for something you can use for free online, it's awesome. It really is. I'm not saying anything bad about it. I really don't have a hack against Incarnate. It just didn't work for my purposes. I needed more than it could deliver. So, but for some people, it's awesome. If you need a basic, simple map, knock itself out. It works. I just simply have progressed through different software until I've got a workflow that works for me. So, you know, and I think that's really the key with all of this. Find a workflow that works for you. It's not going to be Delians. It's not going to be Kaoras or Hefes. It's going to be what works for you. The software that works for you, the brushes or the assets that work for you. You have to decide what makes it worthwhile for you to keep working with a particular tool. It's tools. You know, my garage is full of tools. My wife thinks I'm nuts until we have a project that needs to get done around the house, and I go downstairs and grab a tool she's never seen before. She's like, "What's that?" And I say, "Watch this," and I perform the task I needed to perform, and she's like, "Oh, that's what that's for." Uh-huh. never bad to have more tools. It can be expensive. It's never bad. Hard 4-pixel round brush works well for me. Awesome. And see, I get scared with round brushes. I think it's because I haven't mastered, with hard brushes, I should say. I think it's because I haven't mastered pressure on the tablet really well. And so I tend to go from, it's not visible, to, oh my God, that was thick. It's just like instant. And I really have to learn to kind of gently add pressure. And my hands are getting old. I don't know if I can do it. So I tend to use softer brushes with a lower rate of flow so that I can kind of ease stuff into it. Low hardness, so I can just kind of ease a line into place. Again, that's the skill level I'm at. It's not that I'm, I don't, it isn't because, oh, I'm just awesome with that. It's because, no, that's how I cheat. Original map, after I made the hex map by hand, is incarnate. Okay. Yeah, so that's, again, that's a way of using tool for tonight's game. Cool. If that's awesome, that tool worked for you for that purpose. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is use the tool that works for you. Just sat down with my dinner. Ah, welcome back. Enjoy that chorizo with fusilli pasta and red chili paste. Si, senora. You shall enjoy that. Suddenly felt like Antonio Banderas there. Si, Antonio Banderas. What we're talking about, DM, is the tools we're using for mapping and what works, what doesn't. Or more accurately, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. I've seen all the major packages on here. So, yeah, pick a tool, use it. If it doesn't quite do it, pick another tool. Oh, I am. You suck. Although I am having turkey tetrazzini for dinner. I can't think of the last time I had turkey tetrazzini, but that's what we're having. Because Mrs. Kahuna is making it. Smells pretty good. How much time have I got? I got 28 minutes. And then she's going to say, get your down here. So, so Delian, you use the 4-pixel soft brush. Sorry, hard brush. Do you find it works, you use it more as a pencil or more as a brush? You could send me a picture? Sure. I could share it. I could share it and we could all be jealous of your chorizo. You could drop it in my Discord. I could find a way to post that thing up. Aaron, thank you for coming here, and thank you as always for the raid. That was great. Have a great evening, and tell Sable we said hello. So I've hit that point where I lull and my brain has to catch up to everything we've done. That, or I'm being distracted by chorizo and fusilli. So yeah, I'm wondering with Delian, how did you come to choose that brush? Why is it that brush works for you? Main brush I use for almost all my line art, then I have a different brush for the shading. Okay, all right. So you go in, do your line art, then shade everything differently. Okay. Yeah, see, and line art is the part where I kind of suck. So I can see the shading. I can use different tools, different colors, different patterns, whatever I need to do the shading. No problem. I can build up if I need to. But man, the line art, Sucks. I tend to use, for example, for mountain ranges, I have about 6 different assets, 6, 7, 8. They're basically just PNGs, black and white PNGs. Or I should say black, white, transparent PNGs that I can just drop in, and they'll show a ridge line with a smaller ridges coming off of it. And then I just color that to show, to give it dimension. Just size all I can think it works well. If it works well for you, that's awesome. Yeah, I have to just use the assets. And then I go in and do, use different tricks with that. For example, I'll use a mesh warp and to change the shape of the ridgeline. So it doesn't look exactly the same, or it doesn't look just rotated. I can go in and mesh warp it, make the bottom section wider, and so on and so forth. So I use it I use the assets so I don't have to do the line art. Because again, I'm not really good at the line art. I can improve. I just have to spend a lot more time on it. But I also have to get a computer that can handle it better. Right now, when I crank this poor boy up into my drawing software, there'll be times where I will draw a line and it will take 5 to 6 seconds for it to catch up to me. And that's just not conducive, especially for drawing small detail, because you just can't see the detail come in for 3 or 4 seconds, and then you realize, crap, it's wrong, erase, 3 or 4 seconds, go back and do it again. So, new computer. That's on the list. Probably build one. Looking for one. I need to build it so it can handle 3 monitors. I technically have 3 right now because I use the laptop plus 2, but I would buy a 3rd one so that I could have 3 monitors. The active one, the one I'm using the most, in front of me, and then things for like chats or Twitter or Discord off on the sides, so I could use it that way. But I'm looking at something that can handle the 3 of those fairly well, without too much hassle. I did make a mistake buying these monitors. They were fairly cheap, but unfortunately they're only VGA or HDMI, which isn't a massive problem, but I would have preferred to have DVI, because then I had the opportunity. I would have the opportunity to chain them. As it is now, I have to make a graphics card or graphics controller do all the splitting for me. Oops, sorry about that. Whack. So, oh, he posted it in general. We have to go look at his food. Discord. General. All right, I'm a little disappointed. It looks like it's a little deficient on the chorizo front there. Let me see if I can put it on screen though. There you go. So there it is. DM stretches. Fusilli pasta with red chili sauce, peas, and chorizo. Just hidden underneath. All right. So I see a lot of pasta there. I'm actually not a huge pasta guy. I tend to like the really thin pastas. I like stuff like angel hair. So if this was tossed on angel hair, I'd be in heaven. Unfortunately, the thinnest I can get my wife to make will be spaghetti. Otherwise, she actually likes these chewy pastas. Fiery chili pesto. Sorry, I didn't mean to insult your fiery chili pesto. So there you go, folks. There is DM Stretch's meal. You probably didn't think I was going to do that, did you? It's a nice thing about drag and drop. You can just drag it right out of Discord and drop it onto Chrome, and there you go. You have an image. No, it's fine. Well, that looks like a tasty dinner. That looks like a tasty dinner. From, what are we, 7,000 miles away? Oh, I did. Yeah, you're good. You got to be a good 7,000 miles away. Yeah. It's about 3,000 across the 3,500 across the country from here, and across the ocean. So yeah, you're a good chunk of the way away. So that looks tasty. Where are we at? 11. All right. Switch back to screen, because otherwise I'm just going to get hungry. Before we get right down to the wire, I want to see who we shall raid. We got choices. A lot of choices. All right then. About that, East Coast of UK, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's between 6,000 and 7,000 miles. Oh, so you're on the channel side, then. That's my really, high school geography coming back to me. That was lazy cooking. Well, yeah, what'd you do? You boiled some pasta, threw some chorizo in a pan, cut it up, threw it in a pan with some pesto sauce, some chili pesto, heated it up and tossed the pasta in it. Hey, Shy! Welcome! Yeah, you're catching the last little bit. That's okay. We've been talking about mapping and mapping tools and mapping techniques. North Sea coast. Okay, so way up. Okay. By the way, Shy, I gave your hacks and tips site a little love, because I think it's a great place for people to find stuff. And I don't know if this Friday's stream is your stream where you're doing technology, but that's great. If you are, guys, go watch her stream. Isn't it midnight for you there, DM? Quite the late dinner. Yeah, I mean, we're just talking about different tools, pros and cons of different tools, different techniques. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, you've got knowledge. I can help people, but I don't pretend that I am the expert on any of these things. I just have learned by making lots of mistakes. And so therefore I try to help people not make those mistakes. Oh, this week is Indigo Dye. Okay, so for those of you who are looking for it, we're not doing CSS on Friday on Shy's stream. 1:15 DM. Man, you are up late, my friend. Late. I can't really talk. My usual bedtime is somewhere around midnight. Yeah, I think, Shy, that's the way we learn, right? I mean, I think I hate to say it, but it's probably the best way to learn, because if you make the mistake and then learn how to fix it, not only do you learn not to make the mistake again, but you understand why it happened. So therefore, it leads you to make less mistakes in general, because you start looking for other things as you're working along. So I think it's actually a great way to learn, with one caveat: back everything up before you make changes, because if you don't, you will bork everything and have to start from scratch. I did for my first 3 CSS stuff in my world. So first 3 I borked them bad. They just, everything went 3:14 a.m. here. Need to make sure I wake up for phone appointment at 9. I'll be fine. Ooh. You're actually on the continent, right, Delian? Yeah, you're on the continent, so you're even farther east. Phone call from bed. Yes, I can see it now, Delian. Yeah. No, I'm awake. No, go ahead. Yeah. Okay. I've made those phone calls. I've received those phone calls. Wow, 3 a.m. So you're a good... What was that? 10 hours. 10 hours ahead of us. We island off the continent in the Baltic Sea. Way over there. There's like a continent, an ocean, and a continent between you and I. There's like 2 continents and an ocean between us. And some of the Baltic Sea. That's a long one. That is a long one. Man, 10-hour difference. So you're almost halfway around the world. Almost. Okay, so this is going to be a really old man moment. But can you imagine 10 years ago talking real time with video to someone on the other side of the world? I mean, we could do phone and there was some video calling, but nothing like this. Nothing where I could show you examples of what I'm doing or put up a picture of DM Stretch's food. Wow. Not the only Baltic Sea Islander in the ES as well. Gotta tell you, yeah. Yeah, you guys are out there. Natalia is usually in the morning here, which I'm guessing has got to be evening to night there when she streams. So, yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. Go back pre-1997 and say that. Yeah. It's just, yeah, sure we will. 10 yes, 20 no. Okay, so 10 would be 2000. I've been doing Skype with a friend in Tokyo for 8 years, but it's changed much. Yeah, but Skype was 1-to-1. You really didn't do a whole lot of video conferencing or chatting with multiple people simultaneously on Skype. So 10 years ago, we were starting to get there. I remember doing some streams in 2011, 2012. And we could kind of real time do stuff. But before 2010, it got even tougher. And yeah, I think, you know, what the M is saying, yeah, pre-97, this was a pipe dream. I mean, I would say, well, let's see, back in about 93 is when I had my Nokia cell phone. No, not the famous Nokia, the bulletproof Nokia. No, the original one that was this big with an antenna that long. That was one of the rubber whip antennas. And they charged you $1 per minute for any call. Yeah. You didn't dream of data back then. Unless you had a pager, in which case you had to learn to put codes in. I'd say video conferencing is still fairly new to general public. Yeah, I mean, they're seeing stuff, they're seeing streaming. They don't realize that that's basically one-sided video conferencing, but if we put 2 people on screen, we're video conferencing. Zoom, Google Meets, that's video conferencing, you know. Remember the cell phone boxes? Oh yeah, the ones that would sit down like on the floor where the phone itself went into the box and you had the antenna sticking out of it and you carried it around like a small suitcase. Yeah, I didn't have one of those. I started with cell phones just a little later than that when I finally had just enough money to do that. Yeah. Remember my first flip phone that I broke the hinge on because I kept pretending I was Captain Kirk. Flipping it open. Flipping it closed. That's when I learned to buy the insurance on my phone so it could get repaired. I've had those. I had a Palm Pre. That one had a trackball that you could go around the screen on, and it had an actual keyboard, and you could touch the screen. I think. I know you could scroll up and down. First phone was a flip phone. You know what? And funny thing is, flip phones are starting to come back. Lockdowns really brought Zoom calls, etc. to the floor with regards to general public, only really business. Exactly. Well, and schools now. I mean, my wife teaches on Google Meets every day, and they just added to Google Meets something that Zoom has had for a while, which is the breakout rooms. Hey, welcome, Black. Whispers for the swarm. The Google Meets just added breakout rooms, so now they can send. That's why he's screaming. They could send students off to different rooms for collaborative work, and the teacher can actually, excuse me, visit the different rooms and figure out, are you guys doing your work together? Great. How's it going? Can I answer any questions? Off to the next room. And she does that on a daily basis. She actually has tutors, and 2 days a week they actually do tutorials where the kids are supposed to ask each other questions and identify what their problems are with specific topics. And my wife just simply drops into each breakout room. Okay, everybody's here. Great. Or anything I can help you with? Great. Okay, I'll help you with that. Let's do that. Da-da-da-da. All right, I'm off. I'm going to the next room. And simply goes through the rooms. So it's not the same as being in a classroom, but it's approaching it. It's certainly safer. That's something we dreamed about 20 years ago. And I would dare say 10 years ago, we were probably dreaming about it too. There was one-on-one video conferencing, but a setup where you could have a large video conference that went out, that also connected to smaller video conferences simultaneously and allowed you to pop in and out at will. We didn't dream of that 10 years ago. Well, maybe dreamed of it. We certainly didn't have anything close to it. Back in the day of dial-up. Oh my goodness. We've had that conversation a few times on this stream, and yeah, the days of dial-up. Oh, let me go get my walker. Hang on a second. I remember when I had to listen to that screech. Yeah, I remember those days. When you could literally watch the screens write the text across the screen like a slow motion version of the Matrix. Less physical bullying that way. Can't dunk somebody's head in the toilet if you can't touch them. Well, that is true. But there is cyberbullying. Unfortunately, offspring number 3, our youngest, the one who's still in high school, had that happen the first week. They had a kid. Her school is using Zoom as opposed to Google Meets. A lot of schools won't because they feel Zoom is not protecting data well enough. But kid jumped into a stream for one of her classes, Zoom bombed it. The teacher did not kick the kid out as they should have, and the kid began, at which my kid says they don't even know who this guy is, but called her by name, called her some fairly insulting names, all kinds of stuff. And the teacher didn't kick him out of the class. The teacher let him stay until the end of the class. He Zoom bombed it. And apparently it happened a week later. Again, this time they were able to handle it properly. But it created quite an issue because, I don't know if they ever caught the kid, and understanding how things have to go there, they'll never tell me, and I understand that. I would never force them to tell me because that's not appropriate. Just like I wouldn't want somebody else to know what if my kid had gotten disciplined. But yeah, The actual word was whore. Called my kid a whore in front of the class, basically, because it was the middle of a class. So the teacher got an earful. Assistant principal gave him an earful as well, and they have now retrained. So, you know, it hasn't happened since, so things seem to have improved. But yeah, these kids, some of these kids, they look at this as an excuse to be jerks. So there is bullying. It's just not physical, but it's not necessarily any better in that sense. Bullying is bullying. So, but you know, I personally, I think there are a lot of benefits to the online teaching. Some kids are having a hard time with it. If they don't have a good internet connection, they have a hard time. If they have a hard time hearing, or if they have a hard time with visual stimulus, or don't learn that way, it can be difficult for them. It can be difficult for them. But most kids have gotten pretty good at it. It's funny because I've heard multiple times where my wife is struggling with something technically, and one of the kids in her stream will tell her, oh, do this and this and this, and fixes the problem. So in some ways the kids are actually better at this than the teachers. But it's also caused some of these teachers to really have a new look on how they can bring some subjects up. They're enjoying the online learning, but I've had to step in. Yeah, exactly. I jump in usually when Mrs. Kahuna has issues technically. First week, I was over there a couple times a day. By the second week, maybe once a day. And by the third week, rarely. And, you know, so far this week I haven't had to go over for anything. And I don't think I did most of last week. So, as they get used to it, but they're also learning new stuff. You know, almost every other day at least, I hear Mrs. Kahuna say, oh, look at what I just did. Because she figured out something new she could do. Like, one of the things she's done now is, you know, one of the days a week, it's actually shorter class periods, which they're already short. I mean, they're already only about 35 minutes. It goes down to like 22 because it's a teacher development day. So, what are you going to do in 22 minutes? So she's found other stuff online that she can do that is educational, team building, feel good, fun stuff that is easier to do online than it would have been in a classroom. She can create quizzes online, not at the handout papers, that have a timer. So, okay, first question, go. And then it will tabulate the results. So it's almost like a survey, and the kids enjoy it because they can see their scores go up and down, and they can see how they are with everybody else. I think actually that will probably get carried back into the classroom when they go back. Because it's doable and it's repeatable. You can set it up once and do it with every class. You just copy it into each classroom, into each, you know, online classroom. So I think that's something that's going to end up going there. And I think they've learned a lot of new techniques that are going to help them. But I do know that there's stuff missing. The other side of it is my kid is terrified of going back to school because they know that I have a heart condition. I'm over the age of 55 and I have diabetes. It's a triple whammy. If I contract COVID-19, it could be very bad. And she's scared to death that she's going to go to school and somebody at school is going to bring it in because they refuse to wear a mask or refuse to do what they're supposed to do, refuse to wash hands, whatever. And she's afraid she's going to bring it home and infect me. And that's been a challenge because I've had to reassure her, look, we're going to take every step possible. I still go out. I still have to go to the store. I still have to, you know, I still have to interact with people outside. I wear my mask. I clean my hands with hand sanitizer. I do everything I can. We can only minimize it so much. But I've had to really get her to understand that that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the best we can, and that's all we can do. And that's all any of us can do. Is the best we can, and get through it. Well, we are at 5:30, and I can hear Mrs. Kahuna setting the table, which means any second now I'm going to get a text message saying, "Get out of here!" We opted to keep my daughter home the whole year. My daughter's every cold go to the lungs. Yeah, exactly. That's something that you need to be aware of. And if you know that, then hey, keep them home. We actually chose traditional because we thought, wrongly it turns out, that my kid wouldn't do very well with the online learning. Instead, best grades they've had in 3 years. So, you know, unfortunately we chose traditional and we can't switch off track. But we'll get through it. I will say hi to Mrs. Kahuna for you. I want to thank you guys for hanging out and giving me your opinions on the mapping stuff. That was great. MDM, thanks for sharing your dinner with us. Now I'm hungry for the turkey tetrazzini. That's a tongue twister. Turkey tetrazzini. I'm not going to try to say it 10 times. Kahuna Quiet returns tomorrow morning. I do have the timers up for writing sprints. So if you have just time that you want to do some writing and you want to have a writing sprint timer, it runs constantly during Kahuna Quiet. It's a 20-minute cycle, 15 minutes writing, 5-minute break, and it just repeats itself over and over. Well, thank you, Shy. And, Indigo Blue, right? Indigo Blue Dye is Friday. I'll have to mention it again. I'll mention it tomorrow. Indigo Blue, well, tomorrow in the Kahuna Quiet, so I'll actually type it. You get it. Thank you guys for a lot of fun, and as usual, a lot of great input and great feedback. Tomorrow's Kahuna Quiet. The next actual stream will be Friday. That is our Kahuna happy hour stream at 3:30. Join us. Bring an adult beverage. Tell a friend. Make it a watch party. Do whatever you want. We will have fun. We always do. Mrs. Kahuna will be here next to me, trying to shove me out of the picture, because she does that. Because she likes being on the camera. She'll tell you she doesn't, but she does. So, bring an adult beverage, bring a non-adult beverage, bring popcorn, bring whatever you want. Tell a friend and bring them on in. Let's have fun at Kahuna Happy Hour. That starts on Friday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I believe that's, let's see, 6:30, so 6. No, 7 hours from here, so that'd be 10:30. 10:30 in London, and for Dalian, that's going to be 1:30 in the morning. So if you're up, Dalian, please come by. If not, I get it. It's late. Otherwise, see you in Kahuna Quiet or Kahuna Reads on Sunday. Thank you again, you guys, so much for coming. Oh, yeah, we were going to raid, I think we're going to raid Harold's table. Yeah. If he's up. I always forget how to type. All right. So, off we go. I'm going to send you guys over to Harold's table. Give a big aloha when you get there. I'm going to go down and have turkey tetrazzini. So you guys have a great evening. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow or Friday. Have a great night.